Hello, everybody. It's a dumpy day, and we're still making money. It's quite unbelievable. Bitcoin's price correction wipes out. You can't make this number up. $660 million from long traders in 24 hours. Bonkers. And this is just, typical liquidation flush. We'll break that down on a couple of charts. We'll share the new amplifier, projected targets, how much money from ETFs is going to come in, what the impact will be on price. Market cap. Oh, by the way, happy Friday, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, the mods in the chat. Market cap is 2.58 trillion. 24-hour volume over $200 billion. Crazy. Bitcoin right now, as I speak, is 68,300. Again, small 10% haircut, but we're used to that. We actually enjoy that. And it gives people a chance to take a little bit on when their bags aren't quite full yet. ETH 3670. Solana shoots above $180. It was at $84 a few weeks ago. Now it's $184. That's how fast things move in this space, everybody. As I always say, wear your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride, but its tradition is that way. What else? Fear and Greed is 83. And this is my first video of the day. I'll do another one. A lot of people are shouting at me for an update on Retire on Solana, so that's coming too. So let's jump in. And, the team was 60s in. Best Patreon, been in a few. Thank you, Sam's uncle. You rock. People love their little shout outs, so you get it. Thank you to the team as well. That is behind the curtain, behind here. Bitcoin Only playlist is here too, if you're only interested in Bitcoin content. And of course, the countdown. I want to sing that song from when I was a younger man. The final countdown. Anyway, German, European music, weird. Anyway, 33 days to go. Bizarre. And guess what? This is an important thing from Eric Balchunas. Bitcoin maxis and gold bugs may have to learn to live together. New from PSA Rofagis. Today, we look at the correlation between gold and Bitcoin. And as parts of a portfolio, they can even offer diversification benefits together. Interesting point. And Matt Haugen jumps in and says, met a large RIA this week who has an inflation bucket for all wealthy clients. Their allocation is now 50% Bitcoin, 50% gold. And the reasoning behind this, remember, when you make a lot of money, your goals change. It's not about making more money. It's about keeping what you have. That's why this is interesting. 50-50 allocation. Now, other crazy news too. From Fred Krueger. My target actually was always 50 billion for the year. We'll break that down in a minute. But 50 billion is the new 15 billion. And this seemed insanely high when Stan Short put out the estimate. Now it's consensus. This is the amount of inflow. It is going to exceed $50 billion into these new ETFs. But you know what I do when I get that information? I model it. Yeah. Hi, Linda. Happy Friday. Thanks for coming. 50 billion. What does that mean for Bitcoin price? I know it sounds a bit crazy. So about 4 months ago, I said my bear target was 14.4 billion. 4 months ago. I keep every spreadsheet that I make. And my multiplier back then was 21. That would take... it's kind of embarrassing. Potential future price of Bitcoin by the halving was 46,160. Well, we're higher than that right now. 16 weeks ago. Bear target. We're above my bear target. That's how much I actually sandbag. Anywho, the key thing about this, though, is the other piece. Where if we assume we're going to get 50 billion into these new ETFs, okay? 50 billion. That's approximately 4x what I had as my bear case. But we changed the multiplier to 72, which actually makes sense. Shout out to Fred as well for that. Mine was 59, but I've upped it to 72. That takes us to an additional Bitcoin price on top of what we have today. We'll add $240,000 to the price. That will take us $308,000. And the ROI from the price today is 352.94%. Now, it sounds crazy, but I can literally list 8 models that come down to 300,000. That's a good idea for a video. If anybody wants it, let me know below. Just jumped into my head. I have 8 points of reference that all find confluence around a $300,000 Bitcoin price. which is bonkers. Rich, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for coming. Hope you got back from your travels safe. And Hudson the dog is here too. This is bonkers. I know we're definitely going to 150,000. I've upped that from 100k. Actually, it was 89 to 100k. Now we're going easy to 150k. But if this 50 billion comes in, we are going to the moon. Now remember as well, when you look at the 72 multiplier, that gets twice as hard in 35 days. Twice as hard. So technically you could take that to 140x, which would take the price north of $600,000. I know it's insane. But anyway, let me give you another 150k target. Breaking news. N squared Bitcoin created an interesting metric that estimates how the market prices new coins. And this is not a cause and effect relationship. This is just an observation. But at the halving, the trend implies a price of 75k, which I believe is very possible, close to where we are now. And that would be the low range. And actual market is always above that level. And therefore, we're going to do a 2x from here, which means we're going to go to 150k at least this bull run. Everything is completely bonkers. I mean, throw your sandbag cases out the window. Thank you, B-Man. Now, another great news about how when I was a kid, there was a thing called a nuclear arms race. We're seeing the same type of thing right now, but instead of getting your hands on nuclear weapons, you want to get your hands on Bitcoin. And here he goes again, Michael Saylor, borrowing another over $500 million, this time at 0.875%, not 0.65%. And I hear you ask, why is the interest rate so... Oh, it's really so low, but why is it higher than the 0.65% last time? Well, this time, the extension is going out to 2031, not 2030. And I will bet my bottom dollar that this convertible note will be oversubscribed. So they're not going to raise 525 million. They're probably going to raise 700 million plus. And then the minute they get that money, this will be wired into a box. And that's going straight into Bitcoin. And I know Michael Saylor. He's been here a few times. He's biting his nails right now. I said, give me the money fast. I want to buy this dip. I want to get some of that 68k Bitcoin. I don't want to buy it at 73, which is where it was yesterday. Again, you can't make this stuff up. So what's going on? Well, Michael Saylor in the news all over the place. It's from Vivek. If you're going to invest in Bitcoin, a short time horizon is 4 years. A mid-time horizon is 10 years. And the right time horizon is forever. Ta-da! Great news. And people are still confused by MicroStrategy and the model. And there's a beautiful, simple chart to explain eloquently what I've been trying to enunciate for over 3.5 years, actually. 3.5 years. I think my second or third video I ever made was a synthetic long trade on MicroStrategy. It's bizarre. This is what they do, everybody. Let me break it down. Real simple. Same thing I do in real estate, okay? You borrow, you go long Bitcoin, but you do it because you go short fiat. You borrow fiat and you dump it into Bitcoin. That's the MicroStrategy hack. What are they doing? They borrow a depreciating asset to buy an appreciating asset. I'll say that one more time. They borrow a depreciating asset, which is fiat, the melting ice cube, to buy the appreciating asset. And then, then they keep on doing it. And then, in the year 2030, they can pay it back with a fraction of the asset that they purchased. Okay? Remember, it's like borrowing 15,000 to buy Bitcoin at 15,000. Okay? A year later, you can sell less than a quarter of it and pay back your 15,000, and you keep 80%. And that's just in a year. Can you imagine what happens in 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, forever? And good news as well, the infrastructure is getting much more mature now around borrowing against your Bitcoin. We hope to be ready for that time, so you never have to sell. So back to this. Let me see, what did I miss here? I cover that. Mr. 100 is back. Mr. 100 bought 14 times in the last 24 hours. What's 14 times 100 Bitcoin times an average price of about $68,000-$70,000? You can do the math. It's north of $100 million in a day. So we don't have all the ETFs buying. We don't have Mr. 100 buying alone. we don't have Michael Saylor buying alone, but everybody is into this nuclear arms race. Okay, so I want to be very clear. The type of crazy price action now is another liquidity flush, maybe another manipulation. Somebody can fill their bags cheap. We'll see. We'll get to that in a minute. But as I did mention before, Bitcoin has also all of a sudden become by far the best collateral for lending. Let me explain why. It has deep liquidity. It has robust security. And professional dollar lenders are now financially incentivized to fund the Bitcoin economy. Imagine Bitcoin as a really popular and valuable item like a diamond or a gold bar, but it's liquid. You can flip it in a heartbeat. In 10 minutes, you can move billions of it for $1. And a lot of people want it and they trust it. Because it's so popular and trusted, it's easy to buy and sell quickly. That's what we mean by deep liquidity. It's also very secure. It's kind of like having a super strong safe. So people feel comfortable using it as a guarantee or collateral. So for the first time ever, the world is waking up to how Bitcoin will be the most sought after collateral by far. Forget a house, especially forget an office building in this climate. Forget multifamily buildings, other real estate, lodging, industrial warehouses, gold bars, diamonds. No, there's only one prime source of collateral, and that's Bitcoin. The world is waking up to it now. I remember getting a mortgage from a bank, and I said, I got some Bitcoin. They said, we don't care. It has no value in our mind. Today, they'll think different. Now, back to the title of the story today. It is Dumpiest before the Pumpiest from Bitcoin Monger. Do you believe with a B-U-L-L, by the way? Bully's always here with me. Believe, get it? Anyway, back to this chart. There is bullish divergence on the 1 hour RSI. Leverage longs have been liquidated. Again, they lost $666 million in the last 24 hours. And the funding reset has happened. Saylor, as I mentioned, is about to buy another 600 million plus, maybe 700 million. Mr. 100's buying 1,400 Bitcoin every 24 hours. And the ETFs are sucking it in. So we'll break down all that down in a minute. But a wise man once said, Bitcoin looks the dumpiest before it is the pumpiest. Nature of the beast. Now, more stuff. The leverage, it did get flushed. I'll show you another version of this. But this is from Jesse Myers. And we know where we are right now. We are currently, see if it's actually pumped, $100 since I started. Yes, 68.5 almost. But Jesse believes we'll hit 75K pretty fast. And considering we had 73K a little over 24 hours ago, that's entirely feasible. In addition, let's look at some other breaking news. Even JP Morgan, the renowned Bitcoin hater, that is part of their huge business is to manipulate gold and make money from manipulation of gold. Now, their shiny silver gold rocks, all that glistens is not gold by far from Shakespeare. Shout out to Sanjay for that inspiration. JP Morgan says Bitcoin has already surpassed gold in investor portfolio allocations. Everybody, gold has been around for the longest time, 5,000 years. Bitcoin already has a bigger allocation after 44 days of ETFs. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, as they say. Now, I spelled JMP wrong. It's JPM, JP Morgan, smokes gold. The factor of allocation multiple is now 3.7 times greater than gold when adjusted for volatility. That is crazy in such a short window of time. Now, another piece of news from Axel. The ETFs now own the new ETFs now own 2.28% of the Bitcoin supply. However, what's more interesting is that only 1.6% of the supply moving into the hands of TradFi has stimulated the growth of Bitcoin from 40K to 70K. But remember, a lot of people are concerned, and I'll share a little reminder saying, oh, the ETFs are going to suck it all in and then it won't be decentralized. Decentralization has nothing to do with who owns the Bitcoin. It's to do with who mines the Bitcoin. Very important. Remember that. And a quick reminder of the distribution of Bitcoin. My model, not anybody else's, and it differs from what you see out there, but I've been obsessing on this since 2017. Okay, so I'm not new to this. at all. No, I've been doing this for a long time. Anyhow, I also track all the lost wallets, lost coins, etc. Here is my estimate right now of all the funds and ETFs. That is not just the 9 new ETFs. They have about 3.5% of all Bitcoin. So they still have a long way to go. And you can see that individuals have 50.8%. And that includes my estimate of lost Bitcoin, 5 million. And the Satoshi bag of 5%, etc., etc. Thank you so much, Super Soul Man. So that's where we are with the distro. Let's look at some more stuff. Vanguarding. Fate looks already. Oh, no. The text was left justified. That should be above the chart. So thank you to my editors, but it moved around. Anyway, it should be retired suddenly above the Vanguard CEO. But this is from Bill Miller. His father is a legend. Every single one of these reasons to avoid Bitcoin has been repeated now since inception and has prevented you from owning the best performing asset. What specifically would make you change your mind on the concept? That was to the Vanguard group, who still do not let their customers buy Bitcoin. They're vanguarding you from the best asymmetric predator on the planet. And of course, we know what happened to the Vanguard CEO a month after saying that unless the asset class changes, we won't offer it because it's not a store of value. Dumbest words ever. Nice work. Bye-bye. Anyhow, moving on. Fund managers. Speaking of fund managers, this is so much to cover today. I'm sorry it's taking so long. I'll go as fast as I can. Cetra adds 12,000 financial advisors and recommends 4 new Bitcoin ETFs to their customers. All right. BlackRock, Fidelity, they have tens of thousands of salespeople, financial advisors, as I call them salespeople. This company just added another 12,000. Okay. It's going to be at least 30 to 40,000 people out there all day, banging the phones, calling people. Hey, you want to get some of this special stuff? I recommend a X% allocation. Buy one of these 4 products. It is only just beginning. It's madness. It's absolutely madness. Preppy gal, let's go. This is the Bitcoin leverage flushed. What you want to see is a lot of green. You don't want to see orange, dark orange, or red. That means heavy leverage. And you can see it was all completely flushed. I also included ETH and Sol there because I'll be talking about those two in a few hours as well. So that's a good thing for the price. Now that the leverage has been stolen, that $660 million was taken from retail investors' leverage longs and given to the ETFs. You see how this works? I explain every day just to remind people, don't play with leverage unless you really know what you're doing. And good news too, US government, fun fact, still holds 210,392 Bitcoin with a 2.4x unrealized profit since they last sold in July 2023. Interesting data. And I know Michael Saylor would not mind getting his hands on a bit of that Bitcoin from the government. So we'll see. So the government doesn't always make silly mistakes. Holding has proven to be good. Now, let's talk about the Bitcoin black hole. And we talk about the ETFs, break down all the numbers. Yesterday was a very, very suspect day. My little red flags are going up all over the place. Monster volumes and very little flowing into the ETFs. And I question why. So here you can see Fidelity had their weakest day ever. Only 13.7 million. Fidelity is a monster. What the hell? Or maybe the person that's supposed to buy the Bitcoin took a day off because he's so stressed out and went to the beach and didn't buy. Tomorrow, I'll do the same thing again. I do it every day. I guarantee you Fidelity will be over 100 million because something is amiss. I analyze the volume every single day. This number is off by a big factor. Therefore, it's going to be plumped up a lot tomorrow. Let's look at BlackRock, also lower than expected, 345 million. I expected at least 600 million. So something was weird yesterday. And the grayscale dumpage, 257.1 million, but the net was still positive, 132.7 million. But something is off. Something is off. Considering how much volume Fidelity and BlackRock had yesterday, they should have gotten a lot more Bitcoin. Perhaps, again, I'm wearing a foil conspiracy hat right now. Perhaps they can't find it. Perhaps they're holding on to cash instead of converting it to Bitcoin because they can't find the Bitcoin. Weird. Anyway, I could be wrong, but I'm very suspicious right now because this data does not add up. And you guys know I look at nothing else but data. And the macro update, you can see here the big dump, especially for Fidelity, their lowest day ever. Ever. Very suspicious. Grayscale, pretty big dump, but still, BlackRock suck. Even though BlackRock had a weak day compared to normal, they still suck in everything that GBTC has to dump. Let's look at the day it was for all the ETFs. 12th worst money flow day from 44. But it was record volume. What gives? It doesn't make sense. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. We'll see. Total money flow. Again, you see it was a crummy day considering the volume. Very down, but at least positive. And the total red line is still going up. And now there's $24 billion in the 9 new ETFs. Not bad at all. And in terms of Bitcoin, 455,700 Bitcoin are held by the new ETFs, with nearly 240,000 at BlackRock, 133,000 at Fidelity, and Grayscale flushed 224,000 Bitcoin. Nearly 250,000 Bitcoin out in 44 days because their fees are extraordinary, egregious. Anyway. They, like Vanguard, are changing their ways too. And the amount pulled from the system yesterday, despite it being the 12th worst money day ever, Mr. 100 is buying nearly twice the daily issuance of the miners. Mr. 100 alone. And these new ETFs still pulled 1858 Bitcoin from the system, which is twice the daily issuance by the miners. So still, even at these terribly low numbers compared to normal, it still absolutely depletes the supply, which is super interesting. Now let's look at a couple of charts. Bitcoin chart time. A couple of interesting ones, just to give you a perspective of where we are. Back on the 4th of March, we had a $10,000 red candle, the 10K crash, I call it. And today, or yesterday, we had the 10% crash. So again, people are kind of freaking out a little bit, but I want to use this chart to put things in perspective. All right. That was a pretty big one. It was about 15.3% total from top to bottom crash on the 4th of March. The other one we just had is about 10%, which is nothing in Bitcoin land. Great bit of history here to prove that from Econometrics. You can see here, this is a history of all the daily high to low for Bitcoin. Going back in history, and you can see, I don't remember where that one was, the far one on the outlier, but there was a day when Bitcoin fell 45% in a day. Probably in the early years. But you can see where we are now. Each point in blue is a high to low move on a given day over the past 4 years. The orange line is where we are now. It is very, very, very common over the last 4 years to have a 10% drop in a day. Very common. There are literally over 100 of them. And the opposite is the gainers on the right. And you can see what happens there. And it's very similar pattern and beautiful work, beautiful graphics put together. So ignore the FUD. When people say Bitcoin's crashing, we're all going to die. Nope, we're not. No. A lot of people think that the Bitcoin bubble has burst. Nope, it's not. Something funky happened yesterday with the ETFs. I can't put my finger on it, but I guarantee you something is amiss out there. So don't miss the big picture, though. 10% is nothing, and I still expect a good weekend. Don't forget to subscribe if you want Bitcoin-only content. The link is there. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the mods in the chat. Rich, good to see you. And as well, Super Soul Man, Proppy Gal, and K8, and I guess T&D Tesla must be out golfing. Hello, Gail. Bonjour. And thanks all for coming. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hit the like on the way out. I'll see you in a few hours. Bye-bye.